Okay. All right, so like I said before, the form that we already know is slope-intercept form. This is called point-slope form. Okay, point-slope. So the good thing about these names that we've learned so far is the name of the form kind of helps you to know what information you need to get it in that particular form. Like for instance, if we recall, we have slope intercept form, which means you need to know the slope and the intercept. So when we get this new word, which is called point slope form, then that means we need to know a point and a slope. So the word kind of helps you to know what information you need to get it to that particular form. Now, what you do also need to know is this y and this x, they are stationary. That means they don't move. Now, there are some specific cases where you may not have some other things, but I'll go over that later. But the only thing that you're actually filling in would be the y1, the m, and the x1. Those are the three numbers you have to fill in. So, of course, when you have a point in the problem, that's where you're going to get your x1 and your y1. So you can really tell, the x1 will go here, the y1 will go there. And, of course, if you have the slope, you know to replace m with the slope. Okay, so those are the three numbers you'll have to replace. The ones that have the arrows by it, that x and y, they will just stay there in the problem. Okay. Point slope form is a lot easier, and you're going to see too than probably slope intercept form, because you don't have to solve for anything. You don't have to solve for b. You don't have to do that. Okay. All right. So let's get started. So it says write an equation in point slope form. Okay. So here's our example. Okay. And so let's take a look. It says, write an equation of point slope form of a line that passes through. Here's our point. Okay, so I'm going to put the point here. So that's going to be like your x1 and y1. And then here's our slope. So in your textbook, you'll be given like 4, 3, and m equals 2. You'll be given a point, and you'll be given a slope. So here is point slope form, and that's what the form looks like. And then remember I said you're only replacing three numbers. Your y1 is 3. There it is right there. Your x of 1 is 4. There it is right there. And your slope is 2. There it is right there. And you're done. You don't solve it. You don't solve for y, because if you solve for y, you put it into another form. Okay, you leave it right there. Okay, so it's just a matter of dropping those numbers where they're supposed to go. Does that seem easy? Because you don't even have to solve it from there. Because if you start moving things around and start distributing and all of that, you're taking it out of point slope form. Right? Okay, so it says, this one says write the equation of point slope form. Here's your point. And your slope is -6. Right? So again, you have your x1, your y1, and you have your m. This is what the form looks like. That's where we're trying to get it into. So drop your numbers in the proper places. Of course, minus a negative changes that to a plus. So that's how you ended up with y plus 1 instead of the y minus 1, because it was minus a -1. All right? Drop your slope where it's supposed to go, and then drop your x of 1. And there again, there are your three numbers. Okay, so I'll give you a second to copy that down. You're not going to distribute anything. Okay, you leave it. This is the final answer right here. Okay, we don't go any further than here. That's what we call point slope form. All right, let's take a look at a graph. So you're going to have you're going to have a problem where you're going to have to look at a graph, and then you actually have to put that into or graph it actually here. So if they give you this equation right here, this is your actual problem, all right? That's your problem. So if they give you this and they say graph it, then to graph, you can get the slope from this equation. What is the slope in this equation? 2/3, okay? Because now we know which number is the slope. It's 2/3. Is that correct? Now, the only other thing we need to get from this equation is the point. Okay? So, remember I have an x1 and y1. Here's my x1. Here's my y1. Right? So, if we put the x and y together, the point itself is that. Now, how did I get that? Well, if that says y plus 2, then that means the y coordinate had to be negative. Is that a true statement? Because it's minus a negative, I changed that to a plus. So basically, you just take the opposite side. So if this says plus 2, the y coordinate had to be negative 2. That says minus 3, the y coordinate had to be positive 3. The x coordinate, that is. Okay? So it's very easy to pick out the point because you know where the points are located. There's your y, there's your x, just use the opposite side. Right? So, where do you start? Remember when we did slope-intercept form, we started with b. What do you think you're going to start with here? Because we only have a point and a slope. This time, you're going to start with a point. Right? So, and it usually says start at 3, -2. So, that's where you start. So, on your graph, you want to start at 3, -2, which is here. And then you're going to do your slope rise over 1. So you're going to go up 2 over 3. So from there, I'm going to go up 2 over 3. There's my other point. Then I can do a double negative. Go down 2 to the left 3, and there's your third point. Okay, so if I go down and left, that's a double negative, which makes it a positive 2/3. I can go up and right, and there's my other 2/3. And that's how you graph in point slope form. Okay, does that seem pretty easy? Okay, pick out point, pick out slope right from the equation. Okay, all right, let's move on. So let's look at this one. So my equation is y minus 1, so the y coordinate had to be a positive 1. The x says x plus 1, so the x coordinate had to be a negative 1. Okay, so there's my point. Here's my slope, 3/4. So I'm going to start at -1, positive 1. That's right here. Okay, start at -1, positive 1. And then your slope is 3/4, so you're going to go up 3 over 4. And there's your point. You can go down 3, and then to the left 4. And there's your third point. Okay, so rise over run. Up 3, over 4, down 3, to the left 4. Got it? Okay. All right, so let's move on. So this one says write an equation from a graph, right? So now we're given the graph. Okay, so this is the graph you guys have on your foldable, correct? So if you are given the graph, there are 2 points identified on this graph. So you can take either point you want. Okay, because remember you only need 1 point and the slope. So in this case, if we take this point here, and we're going to do it with both, okay, because they only did it with 1. So if we take that point there, first what I would do is find the slope, rise over run. You can connect these together. So that's -2 over positive 2, so that's a negative 1 for your slope. So your slope is negative 1. Okay? That's your slope number. And my point is 1, 1. So here's my x1, here's my y1, here's my equation, endpoint slope 4. Now, all right, so let's use the other point, because when you're doing your homework, you are allowed to use whichever point you want. They're not going to designate to you which one to use. So we're going to do the other point, which is negative 1, 3. So here's my other point. Slope is still negative 1. Okay, slope is still negative 1. So I'm going to do y minus, what is my y coordinate? 3, very good, equals, my slope is negative 1, so I'm just going to put a negative because we never write really the number 1, times x, is it plus 1 or minus 1? Since my x is negative 1, right? X plus 1. And that's it. It's just a matter of dropping those numbers where they're supposed to go. You're not trying to distribute it out and change it to something else. Okay, that's it. All right? All right, so we have just another type of example to go over. We're not going to do this one. Let's move on to this one right here. Okay. All right, so let's take a look. So in example 4, you're given 2 points, and you'll have this on your homework. So remember, in point slope form, I need to know 2 things: a point and what? And slope. All right. So here they've given me 2 points. So of course I got a point because I can choose whichever one I want. But how do I get the slope?
Y1 minus 3.
Right. You use the slope formula. Correct. So if you know 2 points, can't you find the slope? Absolutely. So let's just find the slope. So our slope formula is y sub 2 minus y sub 1, x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So if you know, again, your goal is to get the slope and a point, and they give you 2 points, then that means you have to solve for the slope. Okay? So let's just use the 2 points we have. So what is y sub 2? Look at the 2 points. What will be y sub 2? Here are my 2 points. Negative 3. All right, so negative 3 minus what? 3 over, what's my x of 2 point? 1. And will that be plus 2? All right. So there's my slope. What's negative 3 minus 3? Negative 6. What's negative 6 divided by 2? All right, so first thing we do is find the slope. We get negative 2. Okay, so now I'm really ready to determine what the equation is, because again, I can choose either point to write my equation. I only need a point and a slope. Okay, that's all I need. So step 2 says use the slope and one of the points to write your equation. Which one do you want to use? It doesn't matter to me. Do we want to use negative 2, 3 or 1, negative 3? All right, we'll do the first one. Okay, so most of you said negative 2, 3. We know our slope is 2. Okay, who can help me out? Who can help me out and put that into point slope form? If I know my slope is negative 2 and I know the point is negative 2, 3, tell me what the equation is. Yes. Y?
Yeah, y minus 3 equals negative 2
times
x plus 2.
Very good. That's it. Okay. Y minus 3, that's your y coordinate, equals my slope number, which was -2, times x plus 2. Right? So I'm going to let you guys do the last one. Okay, so take some time and get that done, and then we'll get started.